So I too wanted to emphasize how grateful I am to Dr. Cosharel and Dr. Pogo for an amazing, amazing experience with the writing program here. I also wanted to thank my family for driving 3 hours again to come listen to me read for 20 minutes. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be reading 4 shorter pieces, starting with a prose poem that I wrote for Flash Fiction with Dr. Cosharel, and I submitted it to the Pioneer Review, and it's the first book I've ever been published in, so it's exciting for me. I kind of see this poem as a riddle, and the title is called Youth, and that's kind of the answer to the riddle. So, no one in town knew her real name, that girl who's lost on the hillside. Every day at noon she could be seen through the distant west windows overlooking the rolling greenery. Blue painted shutters opened toward the place where she was, and glances at her would wander through the musings of those washing dishes, doing yard work, paying the bills. Bare-chested, unashamed, slow thumping of lazy heart as she watched clouds float by on summer breezes. Sky-filled eyes adrift passionate, dreamt-up notions, unraveling and twisting like her hair. Sprawled out and wild, matching the thoughts no one would ever know or move to find out. Her ideas begged to be unhinged and discovered, but daring disturbance as she lay there might have changed history for the worse or for the better. Travelers from every corner would come in search of her, but they were always too late. Her untouchable nature was in itself tangible. She brought peace to the hearts of all that looked upon her, reminding them of a simpler time. Far away on the wings of clandestine dreams, following forever but never reaching, save for in slumber. Though she could never be touched, the thought of her was always familiar, like a handprint that could never be washed from the heart. She would sleep in the light and disappear at sunset, never getting any older than yesterday. A soul never spoke of her or asked where she came from, wondering in secret if they alone could see her. When she was gone, everyone wondered if she was even real, slipping away through their memories like dust thrown to the wind. And then this next poem I wrote for this semester. And it's very sarcastic, and I was looking over my poetry over the last 4 years that I've been here, and a lot of it's sarcastic. I don't know if it's that I think that I get my point across better by being sarcastic, but I seem to have a pattern with that. So this one's called Plastic. Stretching, cutting, sewing back together, smiling through my 3-month recovery, so I can look 10 years younger. I want people to ask me my secret, so I can tell them I just work out and eat healthy. I want to lie all the time. I like to think that the real me is the person I make myself. The au naturel is there, just covered in skillfully hidden scars and layers of paint. Ingrid Bergman, Grace Kelly, how did you survive without the blades? Marilyn, it seems you weren't even willing to try. I don't need to die to hide my flaws. Well, except when I'm at the salon. Because my battle wounds make me stronger. They make me fearless. Your timeless beauty at one point turned to wrinkles and various shades of gray, but that will never be who I am. I am beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to move to Flash, and this is a piece that I got that was accepted into the most recent Pioneer Review, and it's called Insomnia. She stormed into the dimly lit study in her sleep shorts and baggy gray sweatshirt drenched in sweat, brandishing the intricately woven web of string, feather, and beads. She shook it violently above her head as if it had a neck that could be strangled. You said this would work. A single feather fell from the ornate piece as she glared at her husband's tired face, careless of what she may have interrupted in the delicate thoughts of the underpaid scholar. There was nothing beyond the horrifying images that constantly streamed through her head like a film strip she could not stop running. She did not notice his equally tired eyes and the worried look that was beginning to permanently crease the space between his eyebrows. Sweetheart, you have to believe in it for it to work for you. The man in the store said that if you do not trust the dream catcher, it won't be able to help. You have to force them away. Visualize the release of those thoughts and let it carry that burden for you. Her arm fell. She was so incredibly exhausted. Her downcast eyes brimmed with tears as she slumped to the floor in a delirious sob of defeat. I can't do it. I can't imagine him away. It's like trying to force these scars to jump off my skin and melt into someone else's. It's been a month and they still hurt me. All I think about when I try to fall asleep is his face staring at me from each bead. 20 of his faces, all waiting to come alive and tear me apart. I'll just sit there, counting each bead and wondering when they will attack. She sat, whimpering like a small child whose parents had forgotten her in an amusement park and drove away 20 miles. She clutched her head and with both hands, as if doing so was the only way of keeping sanity inside. She rocked back and forth, shaking. Honey, damn it. Getting up from his seat, he knocked over the mug of lukewarm black coffee that had been standing post next to his keyboard all through the night. The noise of shattering ceramic caused her to jump. Eyes red, she looked over at the source of the noise. Wiping off his desk and floor with the paper towel he had used to clean his monitor earlier, he rose back up with as many shards as he could grab at once and walked over to the wastepaper basket near a window behind his wife. It was a small study, with more scattered papers than books. The dark green wallpaper was torn in many places from age and a lack of funds to replace them. As he neared the window, he saw his own reflection against the black night. His pale face and dark, baggy circles made him look skeletal. He felt the pain that had been growing in his chest over the past few weeks, a piercing discomfort he had yet to see a doctor for. There was something he did not want to face when questions were asked about where the tension could be coming from. He turned and kneeled next to his sobbing wife. This man, he won't ever be able to hurt you again. They have him locked away, and he will never see you or anyone else outside those bars again. He paused, and taking a hand away from her head, held it in his own. He wondered if it was his imagination or if it actually felt like holding his grandmother's hand when he was a child, frail and colder than was comfortable. He looked at the hand for a moment, and a different look began to shadow the creases between his eyebrows. The tiniest muscle movement changed the worry lines to anger. Even if he could walk free, he would die before he even looked in your direction. I would kill him. He looked back into her swollen eyes and felt the pain in his chest intensify. Her eyes had not changed, and no comfort had been drawn from his words. He knew the thought before she even opened her mouth. It was that tension he did not want to face, that he had buried deep within his own guilty heart, and tried to imagine away as he buried himself in his work. But you were here when he came. You didn't even know it was happening. All he could do was hold her, trembling on the floor. He knew he did not need to go to a doctor to find out that guilt was the greatest cause of the searing in his chest. Her inability to be touched anymore, the scars all over her stomach and thighs, would haunt their marriage forever because he could have stopped it and was oblivious. He cradled his sobbing, petrified wife, and all he could see now was the beads of the dreamcatcher scowling at him from the floor. And then my last piece is a piece that I wrote for Dr. Pogo's class in creative nonfiction, and it's a memoir, and it's something that happened to me when I was 5, and I never really got over it. So this is kind of me coming to terms with it and sharing it, and well, you'll see. It's called Happiness is Not All It's Bounced Up to Be. I couldn't wait until recess was over so that we could have our writing session and I could finish the last story I was working on. I bit my nails furiously as I sat against the brick wall, disinterested in kickball, monkey bars, or playing house. It was an all-consuming anticipation that only a 5-year-old can experience if given the right circumstance and prize. For a kindergartner, the world looks bigger, time moves by slower, and only in the most passionate of moments will anyone actually decide there's something more important than participating in recess. Having waited the torturous half hour of sunlight and laughing friends, I fidgeted in my seat, awaiting the new journal prompt. Looking up from my marble notebook, I pictured the moment that was about to occur. I had worked tirelessly for the past month and had made sure all the lines were filled with words. Stories about my family, my dream vacation, if I was a color, what would I be? I lost my spot. Scribbled through the book, each bearing a gold star by my name. Today would be the 10th one, and there was no way Mrs. Barreca wasn't going to give me a shot at the jar. It had to be my turn. I'd waited for so long. It was one of those tricks that teachers throw into their classroom atmosphere to keep the kids revolving like planets around the learning sun without realizing it. If we did something exceptional, we would be rewarded with the opportunity to pick something out of a large plastic fish bowl, filled with overwhelmingly colorful and enticing doodads of many shapes and sizes. She called it the happy jar, even though it was clearly a fishbowl. All through class, I would gaze in the direction of that bowl, the one side covered by a big yellow grinning sticker winking and smirking as he kept safeguard over all the precious treasure. My moment had finally come. The days of watching other kids walk up and pick something had come to a stop. I looked back at my journal and took extra care to dot all of my I's and cross all of my T's. She was a stickler for those, and I never forgot to check. Journal was the subject I knew I could earn a happy jar with. I had no chance in math, numbers were too confusing, but words, somehow they were easy. I had been eyeing one particular item, a small bouncy ball, fluorescent see-through green with a piece of shiny, folded metal in the center. I'd never seen a bouncy ball like it, and my heart pounded every time another student got to sift through the prizes to pick. If anyone took it before me, I would have to cry. And I didn't want people to see me cry over what they would see as a silly bouncy ball, so I said a little prayer every time it happened. To my absolute bliss, it was still in the jar. Sarah, are you ready? It's your turn to show me today's journal entry. Hey, wait, this will be your 10th star this month, won't it? It's a miracle that with the amount of times I bounced that ball, I didn't lose it somewhere. I bounced it in the car. Sarah, will you stop that? The metal's reflecting my mirror and distracting me. I bounced it at the dinner table. Sarah, eat your peas. Your ball will still be there when you finish. I bounced it so hard that it hit the ceilings, the walls, the windows, and the doors numerous times before slowing down on its own. Fortunately, 5-year-old little girls don't have the arm strength that can make little holes in the walls with a hobby like this. Sarah, that noise is driving me insane. Can you please just play with it quietly? I used it when I played with my dolls. When they were astronauts, the ball was the Earth from space. When they were in Oz, it was Glinda's bubble. When they told fortunes, it was the crystal orb that revealed all mysteries. I owned that ball for one day. When nighttime came, my father came home from work and found me lying on my stomach in the living room, rolling it back and forth between my hands. I hadn't even met him at the door as I did every day. Well, hi there, remember me? Oh, hi, Dad, look. I beamed as I held up the little sphere, turning it so that he could see it from every angle. I won this today. Your mother told me all about it. She says you've made a mess of your room playing with it all day. You know you're going to have to clean it up before you go to bed. Okay. Okay, good. It's very nice. I'm proud of you. I never cleaned my room. I'd grown too accustomed to putting it off until my mom got so fed up she did it herself. One of the perks to being an only child is that your parents never have anyone else to clean up for. Regardless, somehow tonight was not a night I could get away with this. Going to bed now? Did you brush your teeth? Yeah, I think I'm going to put my ball in my jeweler box when I'm not playing with it. That's fine, honey. Did you make sure to clean your room? No, I'll do it tomorrow. Sarah, I told you, you can't go to bed until it's clean. But I'll just do it tomorrow. It's my mess. You don't have to look at it. Sarah, we had an agreement. I'm tired. Sarah, give me the ball. No. I began to walk down the hallway from him and toward my room. Yes, don't you dare walk away from me, young lady. Give me that ball. You need to clean your room. When you clean it, you can have the ball back. It will take you 5 minutes. And that was it. I made a decision that has haunted me for the past 16 years. I threw that bouncy ball as hard as I could at my father. I threw it so hard, it bounced 4 times before he caught it in one hand and glared at me. You have 2 options. You can get a spanking right now, or I throw this ball away. The next day, I entered my classroom puffy-eyed and dejected. What was the point of going to school and working so hard to get something and then lose it the very same day? After all that writing, my dad gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. If it had been the choice between getting a spanking and foregoing a trip to Disney World, I would have chosen to cancel my dream vacation at the time. Nothing was worse than a spanking. When it was time to write in our journals, I looked out of habit at the happy jar sitting beaming at me from Mrs. Brecka's desk. I glared at the smiling face, wishing I could walk up and punch it so that all the goodies inside scattered all over the floor like a broken piñata. And as my musings progressed to thoughts of just walking over and dumping the jar out so that I could turn it upside down and make it a frowny jar, I almost missed the shiny new object that had been added to its contents. A bouncy ball, identical to the one I just lost. All thoughts of the frowny jar vanished. There was only one thing to do, start from scratch and win it back. I smiled for the first time all day, and the sudden peep of hope rekindled a flame in my journal ambition. But my moment of excitement was soon interrupted when Allison received an A on her math test. Math was the subject after journal, and I had only just gotten a chance to glance at the big red 6 out of 10 on the top of my test when, "Congratulations, sweetie, you've earned a happy jar." The familiar tension started in my stomach and fluttered up to my throat. I watched as Allison bounced to the front of the room and reached into the jar, pulling out my last remaining hope of salvaging what I'd lost. Wow, this ball's so cool! That night, the first thing I did when I got home was clean my room. Thank you.